I'm very proud to tell you guys this video is going to be brought to you by G Fuel, and right now they have a brand new Kaiju number 8 energy formula. You guys know, if you've been keeping up with my videos on my other channel, I love Kaiju number 8. I am extremely proud to say that I've tried this one out. This energy formula of the Kiwi Berry Blitz is absolutely insane, and you get that energy formula itself. There's just enough caffeine in the energy formula itself to get your day started. Another huge plus is the fact that there's zero crash when you use it, so you ain't got to worry about being Konohamaru and not being able to perform because you ain't got the energy. Also, you get all the vitamins and minerals and antioxidants that are going to get your day going, and best of all, there's zero sugar, which is a huge plus to me. You guys know that running multiple YouTube channels, it's not an easy thing to do. And so I do time to time need an energy drink to pick me up. And so I go with G Fuel because it's a lot healthier than some of the energy drinks that are out there. Use my promo code KAGE in order to get your discount. When you click on my affiliate link down in the description box, you can purchase the Kaiju number 8 box as well as any other anime themed G Fuel products that strike your fancy. Doing so really helps support the channel. Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explained here, bringing you guys another Boruto 2 Blue Vortex discussion. Today, it's a moment of reckoning for Konohamaru Sarutobi's character now that we have a little bit more context with that battle with Hidari. But is this the moment where Konohamaru fans should be holding their heads down in collective shame? Or did the narrative give us a small sliver of hope that Konohamaru is finally on pace to snap his ever so long losing streak? That's why in today's newest Naruto Explained video, we are going to be breaking down everything you need to know about how this chapter changed Konohamaru's character for the better and doesn't make him the black sheep of the Sarutobi clan, because that boy, if he does get killed, Hiruzen and Asuma, they're gonna have enough at their disposal that they've seen to allow this man to get into their part of ninja heaven and not that far off zone where Kurenai's no-name relatives are all gathered. So as a reminder, this is not the chapter review. The editor who is working on the review got my audio around 12:30 this morning, so that would have been about 2:30, 3:30 p.m. during his time zone. There's about a 14-hour time zone difference between us, so sit tight. The review, it will be out hopefully tomorrow on Friday, but it might be sometime this weekend. The two translations I used for the chapter weren't too different from the official English and Spanish translations, so we should be good in that regard. I thank you for your support and your patience while waiting for the review. We won't let you down on that one. Now, moving to Konohamaru, I think if you're a Konohamaru fan, you need to be rejoicing over what we've seen in the latest manga chapter, because we have enough right now to start giving the guys some major and much overdue props. While I've got the guy in a garbage can, a stinky garbage can at that on the thumbnail, I do think this chapter subverted the expectations of anyone who might have thought that this guy was in over his head going into his battle with Hidari and would probably get his head cut off or he'd get one shot. While he didn't lose this fight, there's no denying that, he didn't go out like an absolute punk, and I think that speaks volumes to the fact that Konohamaru did indeed level up during this 3-year time skip between the end of Boruto Naruto Next Generations and Boruto 2 Blue Vortex. But I think we're in a situation where it's not truly being appreciated how much he's grown because of the characters around Konohamaru, like the awakened Shinju, who are just insanely powerful, or the characters around him have just grown at a much faster rate due to being younger and having a higher ceiling than Konohamaru's. So people like Mitsuki and Sarada. It's important to remember that Konohamaru, he's a lot closer to reaching his prime than Sarada and Mitsuki and anyone else from Boruto's generation, because he's 32 years old. You could argue he's in his prime right now, which, to add clarification, since I've seen people confused, the last time I said Konohamaru's age is 32, Konohamaru was 13 in Naruto Part 2. Boruto takes place 16 years after the 4th Ninja War, which makes Konohamaru 29 in Boruto Part 1. We are now 3 years removed since the end of Part 1, making him 32 years old right now. Konohamaru is now older than Kakashi was during the 4th Great Ninja War, to give you guys some perspective. That's someone who's either in their prime or they're very close to peaking, barring the few exceptions to the rule like Madara, who got the Rinnegan, or Orochimaru, who in his 50s got a whole body of Hashirama cells and took the Kekkei Genkai, the Sound 5 from Kabuto, or Kakashi, who is now currently stronger than he was in the 4th Ninja War because he no longer has the limitations of the Sharingan, where he had to set aside chakra just to perform using the Sharingan itself, which we have confirmation that this Kakashi scales well above the 4th Raikage. Now, Konohamaru ended part 1 of the story a lot stronger than a lot of fans realize, which the longer video breaking down how strong Konohamaru is will be in the info cards and in the description box for your convenience, but I'll briefly go over some of the proper scaling conclusions in order to paint a picture for you. I've been pretty consistent in saying that Konohamaru, he's progressed since the end of Naruto's manga, from being in that lower Jonin level since the 4th data book revealed. By the end of the manga, he had already learned 2 changes in chakra nature, something expected of Jonin class shinobi, and on top of that, he had mastered the Rasengan and all the signature jutsu of Asuma and the 3rd Hokage, which would have put that younger Konohamaru in that lower Jonin tier with characters like Sick Kimimaru from part 1 of Naruto, the Akatsuki Suppression Arc Choji, Akatsuki Suppression Arc Ino, but he would be above all those characters if you rank them. Despite Konohamaru being mostly used for gag humor in Naruto's manga, he was never truly a serious fighter, albeit his potential had been hinted at more than once from the very start, given that Ebisu was stated to have only trained young ninja with high potential before he became Konohamaru's squad leader and stopped giving private lessons. By the time we get to Boruto part 1, he's someone who is knocking on the door of that Kage level of power, and we've seen it at a few times, like in the moments with the Jugo fight where he's reacting, dodging, and tagging a rampaging Jugo, and despite getting his chakra drained, was still able to use the Rasengan with enough force to blow him across the forest, leaving a small trail of destructive damage in his wake. He's got a few other things that are working for him that the longer video breaks down in detail, but there's enough there to put him on that knocking on the Kage level door, so he would be behind Kakuzu, Mei the 5th Mizukage, the Gold and Silver brothers, Sealed Orochimaru, who fought Four Tails Naruto, Haku, Part 1 Kakashi, and Zabuza. That's a pretty decent jump over 16 years. Not as high as others in his generation, but that's to be expected. The exception to the rule does not make the standard, but that is enough to still be considered an elite. During the last 3 years, Konohamaru spent this time believing that Naruto skilled by Boruto, and that Sasuke, someone who we know from the Sasuke Shinin Teacher Star Pupil story, is a shinobi who Konohamaru admires due to Sasuke's power stated to have rivaled Naruto's, and that is enough incentive to take training during that time skip to push out more power. However, his ceiling, to restate, is a lot lower than others in his generation or even his own students, but that didn't stop the guy from leveling up, and the fruits of his labor, it comes from what we see in the chapter just dropped. What he doesn't have in power, he's made up for it by showing that some of those genius genetics of Hiruzen, they did make their way down to him. We saw as much when he was able to add a wind release change in chakra nature to his Rasengan, something that even the 4th Hokage for all of his genius couldn't accomplish, which, reminder, Konohamaru's chakra reserves are not high enough to attempt the shadow clone method that Naruto used. And we see Konohamaru has once again done it by adding a wind release chakra nature to his Rasengan for another variation of the wind release Rasengan, this time a different type of Rasengan. His jutsu is called the wind release rasen wind barrier or wind barricade, depending on the translation you go with. That's a more impressive feat than people are giving credit for, and allow me to explain why I say this. It's already crazy to master the Rasengan. It is a jutsu with an A rank difficulty so complex that it has to be mastered in stages. But the reward is that you get a jutsu that is considered to be the absolute pinnacle of changing chakra shape, ninjutsu. Due to being able to compress and simultaneously rotate such a high volume of chakra at high speeds, which also simultaneously buffs the power of the jutsu via it being a change in chakra shape. But it also does one more important thing. It adds the wind release to it, which makes the jutsu even stronger, and he took on one of the strongest offensive changes in chakra nature by using one of his own, and he compressed it down into the Rasengan, and layered multiple wind streams into the jutsu to perform a defensive variation of a traditionally offensive maneuver, which that is nothing short of a genius at work, and it should be praised here by fans, especially when you factor in what he used it against. Blocking a chidori is no easy task. Chidori was meant for assassination methods. It has an enormously high-powered volume of chakra being dumped into it. It's being thrust at high speeds, yet Konohamaru's attack was not only a superior chakra nature, and despite not having that spinning orb you see at Rasengan, he has the wind release chakra rotating in the same way that a normal Rasengan would rotate, only expanded for defensive purposes. But it also was being amped up by being a change in chakra nature shape and able to absorb and disperse enough of the intended damage that it only managed to blow him backwards and not inflict any lethal harm onto him, which is very impressive given how strong Hidari is. Make no mistake, had Konohamaru been a second slower using that jutsu, he would have been killed. There are no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The creation of a jutsu like that means one clear thing. He was training these last 3 years with the intention of fighting Sasuke. That's the only explanation for making such a jutsu that counters chidori. Chidori is a lightning release jutsu, and Sasuke's signature move is lightning release. Konohamaru thinks that Sasuke is helping Naruto's killer walk around unpunished, and Konohamaru was running to the battlefield with the intention of confronting Sasuke. That's obviously not to say Konohamaru is suddenly stronger than Sasuke or relative to him. I'm not saying that. Based on what we've seen, we can't say he's gone that high, but I am saying I think he's had enough wits about him to begin training with the intention to make counters to Sasuke's jutsu to potentially beat Sasuke if he is backed up by the right collective of people, which is enough to even the playing field, unless you have a massive gap like say Edo Madara and the 5 Kage, but the point still stands here. Konohamaru, regardless as to if he was going to be able to beat Sasuke or not, appears to have been adding jutsu to his arsenal that would help create counters to Sasuke's attacks, which is exactly why the Hidari fight is so interesting right now. Hidari is a clone of Sasuke. He can perform Sasuke's own jutsu, yet the lack of the Sharingan and his Aya insight, it allows for a more manageable threat to deal with a team setting if you have the right people with you. Even if Boruto is there and he tells Konohamaru, hey man, you stay in the background. You can't risk getting injured in this fight because Konoha, it don't got the Shinobi Disability Benefits program that you're eligible for. If you get hurt, you got to pay out of pocket. The interesting thing here is that he's at least shown there are ways to combat Hidari. If someone as strong as Boruto were to have used that rasen barrier, it would have gone a much different way. The Vortex spinning might have flipped the Chidori's power back onto Hidari. I know the easy thing to do right now is to dump on Konohamaru all over again, and I'm going to be doing it on the thumbnail. I'm going to poke a lot of fun at Konohamaru for this. He's not going to be the only one I poke fun of coming out of this chapter. You might as well get ready for it, but I don't think there's a reason to be disappointed with this character right now because he's clearly grown even more powerful. As a reminder, the review, it is being worked on, so keep the notifications turned on. I'll have it uploaded as soon as my editor gets to it. I've already got the thumbnail made for it. Also, if you haven't already, click here to watch that 2.5-hour Boruto video, or click here for my 57-minute Chainsaw Man Dating Denji arc recap that is on my Anime Explained channel.